Hi, welcome to Horse Brother channel. Today I will be talking on a story where you can achieve all your life fantasies on this magical island. Story started off with the arrival of a private plane on the magical island, named Fantasy Island. On board the plane are businesswomen Gwen Olsen, ex-police officer Patrick Sullivan, stepbrothers JD and Brax Weaver, and Melanie Cole. They are welcomed by the operator of the island, Mr. Rourke. Each of them come with a fantasy to be achieved: Patrick to be enlisted in the army in honor of his late father, Weaver brothers as honored guest at a mansion party, Melanie to avenge on her childhood bully Sloane Madison, lastly Gwen accepting his ex-boyfriend marriage proposal, which she rejected many years ago. Melanie started off with her fantasy by torturing Melanie where she thought is a hologram, later to find out that is the real Melanie. She then saves her from the masked surgeon and they both run away together. Meanwhile, Patrick was exploring the jungle with his military gear. He is caught by a military platoon and taken to their commander, Lieutenant Sullivan, whom he recognizes as his father. As it turns night, the masked surgeon attacks Melanie and Sloane in the jungle before they are saved by Damon, a private investigator who then kills the surgeon. Damon reveals that Rourke offered him to be able to be with his deceased daughter again, however his fantasy becomes a nightmare and he is then stuck in the island. Damon explains that all those fantasies are created from the spring water that are generated under the sparkling rock in the cave. The three of them then collect some spring water and headed back to the hotel to seek help. Gwen wakes up in the morning to find with her dream life that she's married to Alan and has a daughter, but she is not satisfied. Gwen speaks to Rourke that this not what she really wanted, that her real fantasy she ever wanted was to save her neighbor who died in the fire incident. However, Rourke insisted that the fantasies must be fulfilled so that his fantasy of being together with his deceased wife can continue. The whole fantasies took a change to become nightmare, where the Weaver's brother mansion is raided by the drug cartel and is held hostage. Gwen is taken to the scene where the fire incident broke out from her carelessness that killed her neighbor Nick Taylor. At that night, the other guest is there too except Melanie. The attempt to save Nick fails and Rourke's assistant Julia then save Gwen from being burned by the fire. At the mansion, Sullivan's soldiers launch a search and rescue operation for Weaver brothers. The cartel that being shot dead suddenly resurrects as zombies who then attacks the soldier. In the ongoing gunfight, JD is fatally shot and Sullivan sacrifices himself so that Brax and Patrick can escape. While on the run, Melanie and Sloane once again attacked by the zombified surgeon. During their struggles, Damon then pushes the surgeon with himself falling off the cliff. The remaining guests regroup at the resort, but are cornered by Rourke, who reveals that they are in a fantasy in which later all will die. Realizing that everyone was involved in Nick's death, Melanie says that Nick asked her out that night and she turned him down, which is the reason he was in the apartment. The guests assume it is Julia's fantasy as they believe that Julia was Nick's mother. A fight broke out, and all the guests escape to the dock to be rescued by a plane sent by Damon's associates, but it is shot down by the drug cartel. All of them then panicky runs to the cave to destroy the source of all that happening, the glowing rock, with Patrick carrying a hand grenade. While in the cave, Melanie stabs Patrick and takes Sloane as hostage, revealing that the entire situation that they all in are her true fantasy. She planned their arrival to seek revenge on them for Nick's death, with whom she had a date and was convinced was her soulmate. Julia is revealed to be Rourke's wife, brought back by the power of the island, is dying of a terminal disease she was suffering from. She convinces Rourke to learn to let her go and help the guest before she disappears. Figured out how to solve the whole situation, Sloane then drinks the spring water that she carries along and wishes that Melanie to be with Nick forever. As a result of her wish, zombified Nick emerge from the water and drag Melanie into it together. Before drowning, Melanie throws the hand grenade to the ground and Patrick sacrifices himself to cover the grenade that explodes. As the fantasy concludes, Gwen, Sloane and Brax wakes up at the resort, where Rourke agrees to let them go. When all the guests on board of the plane before leaving, Brax spoken to Rourke that he wishes DJ to return as part of his new fantasy. Rourke states that he need to stay at the island for that wish to come true. In turn, Brax agrees. Gwen and Sloane with the newly resurrected DJ then leaves the island with the plane. Rourke then hires Brax as his assistant at the island. That's the ending of the story. Thanks for watching.